Last Tuesday, a guy drove a brand new SUV into my shop. The sticker price was somewhere around $58,000. The odometer showed barely 38,000 miles, and yet he was already staring at a repair bill of nearly $4,200. The turbocharger was done. And sure, the vehicle was still under warranty. But let me ask you something. How much does that warranty really help when the parts are delayed and you lose 3 full workdays waiting for your SUV to come back? Now here is where the story gets painful. Just 2 lifts away, another customer had brought in his old daily driver. A 2009 model, nothing flashy, nothing that would turn heads in a parking lot, almost invisible if you walked past it. But that SUV had already covered around 347,000 miles. It came in for a simple oil change, and about 20 minutes later, it was back on the road. No warning lights, no leaks, no drama, no expensive surprise waiting under the hood. That old SUV had cost him roughly $11,000 4 years earlier. So think about that for a second. A modern SUV costing well over $50,000 was losing the reliability battle to a used vehicle that costs less than the taxes, registration, and extra fees attached to many new pickup trucks, and that is exactly why this video matters. Today, I am going to show you 3 SUVs that most buyers completely ignore. They are cheap to buy, badly underestimated, and built to reach mileage numbers that would make many modern vehicles tap out long before they ever got close. And with the first one, we are going deeper than usual, because this specific SUV makes a lot of much more expensive buying decisions look surprisingly questionable. If you enjoy content about cars, technology, innovation, and smarter choices for buying better, take a moment to subscribe to the channel. We are very close to reaching 1,000 subscribers, and every new subscriber helps this project keep growing. Here, you will find videos made to show what is truly worth it in the automotive world, with no fluff, no hidden advertising, and always focused on useful information for anyone who wants to avoid bad buying decisions. So, if this content helped you in any way, subscribe now, turn on the notification bell, and follow the next videos. Your subscription may seem simple, but it makes a huge difference for the channel. Thank you for being part of this journey toward 1,000 subscribers. Let's get into it. Sitting in third place is the Lexus GX470, and this is where things start to get seriously interesting. Because today, this luxury SUV can still be found on some used car lots for the kind of money people spend on a decent mountain bike and a few accessories. But behind that Lexus badge is something far more serious than most buyers realize. Under the leather, the quiet cabin, and the premium image, this thing is basically a Toyota Land Cruiser Prado wearing a tailored suit. Last spring, a retired firefighter came into my shop and asked me to inspect a 2012 Jeep Grand Cherokee he had found for about $14,500. At first glance, it looked pretty respectable. The paint was decent, the interior was clean, and the odometer showed around 94,000 miles. But once I started looking closer, the excitement faded pretty fast. Under the hood was the 3.6-liter Pentastar V6, an engine that is no stranger to oil consumption complaints. And on top of that, the front differential was already starting to make noise. So I told him the truth. He was not buying a bargain. He was getting dangerously close to inheriting somebody else's expensive old problems. Then he asked me what I would buy if I were in his position. That is when I showed him a 2007 Lexus GX470 listed for roughly $13,200, with about 128,000 miles on the clock. His first reaction was exactly what you would expect. He looked at me and said, "Isn't that thing too old?" And I told him, "This SUV will probably still be running when your grandchildren are old enough to drive." He bought it. About 9 months later, he sent me a photo of the odometer. It had climbed to roughly 149,000 miles. No major repairs. No scary warning lights. No mystery issues hiding underneath. Just oil changes and one set of brake pads. And that right there is what most people completely misunderstand about the GX470. Lexus sold this model from 2003 through 2009. And beneath the soft leather seats, the extra sound insulation, and the polished luxury touches, there is one of the toughest platforms Toyota has ever put on the road. The 4.7-liter V8, known as the 2UZ-FE, comes from the same engine family used in the Toyota Land Cruiser 100 series. And that engine did not earn its reputation by accident. It is naturally aspirated, which means there is no turbocharger waiting to turn into a costly headache later. Yes, it uses a timing belt. And yes, that belt should usually be replaced around 90,000 miles. At a good independent shop, that job often lands somewhere between about $800 and $1,200. But the engine itself is built like old-school Toyota machinery was supposed to be built: strong iron block, conservative tuning, and a design that can go beyond 400,000 miles when maintenance is taken seriously. The transmission fits that personality perfectly. This is not some restless modern gearbox constantly hunting for the perfect gear to feel sporty. It is a proven 5-speed Aisin automatic that Toyota used across multiple vehicles for years. It does not shift with flashy drama, and that is actually part of why it lasts. Keep the transmission fluid fresh roughly every 60,000 miles, and this unit has a reputation for taking a ridiculous amount of use without falling apart, and the GX470 is not just a soft crossover wearing SUV clothing. It rides on a proper body-on-frame platform. It has full-time 4-wheel drive, low-range gearing, and a lockable center differential. In other words, this is not a lifestyle SUV pretending it can handle a gravel driveway. This is a real off-road foundation that Lexus covered with leather, silence, and comfort. On the used market, clean GX470 models from around 2005 to 2008, usually showing somewhere between 100,000 and 140,000 miles, can often be found in the range of about $10,000 to $15,000, depending on condition. Now compare that with a Toyota 4Runner V8 from similar years. With comparable mileage, those often get listed closer to $18,000 to $24,000, and that is where the market gets it wrong. The GX carries a huge amount of that proven Toyota DNA, but it often sells for several $1,000s less because many used car buyers see an older Lexus and instantly imagine painful luxury car repair bills. In real life, the story can be very different. The regular upkeep is often more reasonable than people expect from a luxury off-roader, and in some cases, it can cost less to keep alive than certain smaller compact SUVs that look cheaper on paper. Now, if you are shopping for a GX470, there are a few things you absolutely need to check. The timing belt history comes first. If there is no clear proof that the belt has been replaced and the SUV is already past about 90,000 miles, use that as a serious negotiating point and budget to have the job done right away. After that, inspect the lower ball joints. They are a known wear item on this model. Replacing both sides usually costs somewhere around $400 to $600, depending on the shop and the quality of the parts. Then take a close look at the dashboard. Some vehicles from hotter climates develop cracks on the surface. Most of the time, that is more cosmetic than mechanical, but it still gives you another reason to bring the price down. The ideal one is a GX with a complete Lexus service history. That matters more than shiny tires or a freshly detailed interior. A lot of Lexus owners tend to maintain their vehicles more carefully than people who buy used off-road rigs and immediately start beating them up on trails. And when you find a GX470 that has been serviced properly for years, that maintenance record feels almost like written proof that the SUV is nowhere near finished. The Lexus GX470 might be the cheapest way into a real Toyota Land Cruiser-based machine. Simple as that. Almost nobody talks about it. Very few buyers search for it on purpose. And that is exactly why the price still makes sense. But if you think the GX is already underrated, the next SUV may surprise you even more, because this American model has suffered almost absurd depreciation when you compare its used price with how long these things can actually stay on the road. In second place, we have the Chevrolet Tahoe from the 2007 to 2014 model years, especially the versions equipped with the 5.3-liter Vortec V8. And yes, I already know what some people are thinking. A Chevrolet on a list of SUVs that can challenge Toyota for long-term durability? That sounds a little risky at first. But this is exactly where you need to look past the badge, because the mileage history tells a much stronger story than most critics of General Motors would ever expect. One of my longtime customers is a plumber, and he does not baby his vehicles at all. Back in 2021, he bought a 2008 Chevrolet Tahoe LT with around 86,000 miles on it for roughly $9,500. He drives close to 35,000 miles every year, mostly on highways and open roads. Today, that Tahoe has already passed 190,000 miles, and do you know what I have had to do to that SUV so far? Oil changes, brake work, and one wheel bearing replacement at around 165,000 miles. That is it. The engine acts like none of this bothers it. It fires up, settles in, and keeps doing its job like it was built for this kind of abuse, and this is not just one lucky customer with one lucky truck. Owner communities are full of documented Tahoe examples with the Vortec V8 reaching nearly 560,000 miles. Some of them got there with surprisingly ordinary repairs, oil changes, a water pump, an intake gasket, an alternator. There are even suburban stories crossing more than 620,000 miles while still running without a full engine rebuild. That is not fantasy shop talk. That is what happens when a simple pushrod V8 is asked to work for years without unnecessary drama. The secret is in the design. The 5.3-liter Vortec used in this Tahoe generation comes from General Motors' LS-based engine family. And anyone who understands engines knows why that matters. This layout is one of the most proven designs in the automotive world. It is an old-school small-block V8 with a cam-in-block setup and pushrods, which means it has fewer moving parts than many modern engines with overhead camshafts. There is no complicated timing system stretching across multiple camshafts. No fragile maze of parts trying to do too much at once. Instead, you get a simple, tough design that General Motors refined for decades. The timing chain is short, direct, and positioned between the crankshaft and the camshaft. With normal maintenance, serious timing chain problems are not something you commonly see on these engines, but this Tahoe is not flawless, and this is where buyers need to pay attention. The biggest concern is the cylinder deactivation system, known by General Motors as active fuel management. On some models, especially from 2007 through 2009, that system could contribute to higher oil consumption. Later versions improved, and many owners choose to disable the system through a software adjustment. That often costs around $300 and removes one of the main worries from the vehicle. Looking for a model from 2010 or newer can also lower that risk. Now this is where the used market math gets very interesting. A 2011 Chevrolet Tahoe LT with four-wheel drive and around 100,000 miles often sits somewhere between $12,000 and $16,000. A Toyota 4Runner from the same year with similar mileage can easily land between $22,000 and $28,000. That means you may be looking at a gap of roughly $10,000 to $12,000 between two vehicles that are much closer in long-distance durability than many buyers want to admit. The Tahoe also gives you seating for up to 8 people, can tow up to around 8,500 pounds depending on configuration, and has one huge advantage that people do not talk about enough: parts are everywhere. General Motors built millions of these engines, so the aftermarket support is massive. A Vortec water pump replacement can often land around $350 installed. An alternator may cost about $250. A full set of brake pads can be around $280. For a large SUV, those parts prices are surprisingly reasonable. When you inspect one of these Tahoes, start with the oil. Check the level, then look under the oil cap. If you see heavy sludge or thick dark buildup, that can be a sign of poor maintenance. This engine can run for an absurdly long time, but only if it has been given clean oil on a regular schedule. If someone cheaped out on maintenance and stretched oil changes too far, I would walk away and find a better one. The next thing to watch is the transmission. During the test drive, pay attention to any shuddering or hesitation between roughly 40 and 60 miles per hour. Mild symptoms can sometimes improve with a fluid and filter service, which may cost around $250. But if the shaking is strong, the torque converter may need attention, and that is something you want to know before money changes hands. Then comes rust. If the SUV spent its life in areas where roads are salted heavily during winter, inspect it carefully. Rocker panels, wheel arches, and the underbody matter more than shiny paint. On many Tahoes, the engine will not be the part that ends the story. The body will. In rust-heavy regions, the drivetrain can still be healthy while the metal underneath is already becoming expensive. You should also test the four-wheel drive system. Do it at low speed in a parking lot and listen carefully. Clunking, binding, or strange noises can point to wear in the transfer case or actuator. The transfer case actuator is a known wear item, and replacing it often costs around $350. So who is this Tahoe really for? It is for families that need real space. It is for people who want towing capacity without moving into a pickup truck. It is for drivers who need a big, relaxed long-distance SUV that sees 250,000 miles not as the end of its life, but as the middle of the story. This is not a delicate boutique SUV for tight city streets. It is a large, honest workhorse shaped like a family vehicle. The 5.3-liter Vortec V8 did not earn its reputation through clever marketing. It earned it by surviving year after year in the real world. But as convincing as the Tahoe is, the SUV in first place is the one I now recommend to almost anyone who asks me for the smartest long-term used SUV buy. It is so obvious that most people completely overlook it. And for the money, what it offers almost does not make sense. If this kind of honest breakdown helps you, subscribe to the channel, because more videos are coming that plenty of dealers would rather not see in your search history. In first place, we have the second-generation Toyota Sequoia, built from 2008 through 2019, especially the versions with the 5.7-liter iForce V8. Just think about what this SUV really is for a moment. A full-size, body-on-frame Toyota built around the same basic philosophy as the Tundra. 3 real rows of seats, a 381 horsepower V8, heavy-duty construction, and a frame capable of towing around 7,400 pounds without acting like it is under stress. And here is the crazy part. Today, you can often buy one of these Sequoias with around 100,000 miles for less than the price of some brand new entry-level compact crossovers. Almost nobody is actively searching for them. And that is exactly where the opportunity begins. 2 years ago, a family of 6 came into my shop. The father was looking at a 2017 Chevrolet Traverse listed for about $19,000. On the surface, it looked like the sensible family choice. Plenty of room, modern styling, and a price that did not seem insane. But during the inspection, 2 problems showed up almost immediately: a leaking transmission cooler line and a timing chain that was already starting to sound like it had a limited future. I told him straight that there was a good chance he would be facing around $3,500 in repairs within the next 12 months. Then I asked him whether he had ever considered a Toyota Sequoia. He looked at me like I had mentioned a forgotten vehicle from another planet and said he did not even know Toyota was still making something like that. So I showed him a 2013 Sequoia SR5. It had around 108,000 miles on it and was listed for roughly $16,500. It was larger than the Traverse, stronger for towing, powered by a V8 that could outlive many smaller modern engines, and most importantly, it was a Toyota. He bought it. 18 months later, the odometer was showing around 142,000 miles. The entire repair list during that time? 1 set of spark plugs and a serpentine belt. Together, less than $400. His exact reaction was simple: this thing still drives like it is almost new. And that is why I trust the second-generation Sequoia so much. The 5.7-liter 3URFE V8 is one of the most overbuilt engines Toyota ever put into a normal production vehicle. It makes 381 horsepower and about 401 pound-feet of torque, paired with a 6-speed automatic that Toyota refined over years of real use. This engine uses dual overhead camshafts and intelligent variable valve timing on both the intake and exhaust sides. It also runs on a timing chain, which means there is no timing belt waiting to become a scheduled expensive service item. The block is aluminum, but Toyota gave it strong iron cylinder liners so it can handle heat and load without wearing itself out too quickly. I have personally serviced these engines with well over 300,000 miles on them, and during compression tests, many of them still landed impressively close to factory expectations. In owner forums and long-term reports, second-generation Sequoias regularly show up with mileage between 300,000 and 400,000 miles. And these are not museum pieces. These are family haulers, tow rigs, road trip machines, and work vehicles that have actually lived hard lives. There are even Toyota dealers with delivery vehicles using related V8 engines that reportedly climbed toward extremely high mileage numbers. The 5.7-liter V8 follows that same philosophy. It is not highly stressed, not delicate, and not built to impress people with one flashy number in a brochure. It was built to take years of real-world punishment without turning every small issue into a financial disaster. The most common weak point is the secondary air injection pump. In colder areas, it can eventually fail and trigger a check engine light. Depending on the shop, repair costs often land somewhere between $400 and $800. But here is the important detail: this does not destroy the engine, and it does not mean the drivetrain is weak. It is an emissions-related component, not the heart of the powertrain, and now the numbers become even more interesting. A Toyota Sequoia SR5 or Limited from 2013 to 2015 with around 80,000 to 120,000 miles can often be found in the $17,000 to $22,000 range. Now compare that to a Toyota 4Runner from a similar year. A 2015 4Runner SR5 with around 80,000 miles can easily cost between $28,000 and $33,000. That means the Sequoia gives you more power, more cabin space, more towing ability, real 3-row practicality, and the same Toyota durability DNA, while sometimes costing $10,000 to $15,000 less. The difference is not quality. The difference is image. The 4Runner has the adventure reputation, the loyal fanbase, and the social media hype that pushes prices through the roof. The Sequoia is standing right beside it, waiting for someone who actually knows how to do the math. Older model years make the deal even more surprising. Sequoias from 2008 through 2012 with the 5.7-liter V8 can often be found between $10,000 and $15,000. For that money, you are getting a body-on-frame Toyota SUV with a V8, seating for up to 8 people, and a construction style that feels more like a serious utility vehicle than a disposable crossover. That is almost absurd, but if you are looking at one, there are a few things you absolutely need to inspect. Start with the frame. Some earlier Tundra and Sequoia models had rust concerns in certain markets, so check whether any relevant recall work was completed and look underneath the vehicle yourself. Heavy rust, flaking metal, or deep corrosion should be treated as a major warning sign. The second thing to watch is the air suspension if you are considering a platinum trim. The rear air springs can wear out around 150,000 miles. Repairs often run between $800 and $1,200. Anyone who wants to avoid that risk completely should focus on an SR5 or Limited, because those trims use traditional coil springs. After that, inspect the front suspension. The Sequoia is a heavy SUV, and because of that, ball joints, tie rods, and steering components work harder than they do on smaller vehicles. During a slow drive over bumps, listen for knocking, clunking, or loose-sounding movement. That does not automatically mean the SUV is bad, but it tells you what might need attention soon. Transmission fluid matters too. Pull the dipstick and check the color. Ideally, it should look red or light pink. If it is dark brown or smells burnt, that points to neglected maintenance. And that is what ages even a strong Toyota drivetrain faster than it should. Usually, the engine is not the problem. The problem is an owner who believes Toyota reliability means Toyota maintenance does not matter. So who is the Sequoia perfect for? Big families that actually need a usable third row, not a cramped little bench that only works on paper. People who tow boats, trailers, campers, or work equipment and would rather have Toyota engineering behind the hitch. High-mileage drivers who want a quiet, comfortable highway SUV they can trust for another 200,000 miles without treating every sound like a warning of disaster. More than anything, this SUV is for people who do not buy what looks trendy today, but what still makes sense years from now. The market loves famous names, hype, and models with cult followings. The Sequoia is almost invisible by comparison. And that is exactly what makes it so dangerously good, but not everyone should buy one. If fuel economy matters more to you than long-term strength, this probably is not your SUV. The 5.7-liter V8 can use around 13 miles per gallon in the city and about 17 miles per gallon on the highway, depending on condition and driving style. That is the trade-off for a large V8 in a vehicle that weighs around 5,600 pounds, and if you spend most of your time in tight city streets, hunting for tiny parking spaces, and needing something easy to squeeze through traffic, the Sequoia will not be your best friend either. At around 205 inches long, it is big. Very big. It drives comfortably, but it does not magically disappear into small parking spots. Also, if resale value over the next 3 years matters more to you than total ownership cost over the next decade, the overpriced 4Runner market may actually work in your favor. Vehicles that are expensive to buy often stay expensive to resell. But if you want the most substance, space, durability, and long-term peace of mind for your money, the Sequoia becomes extremely difficult to beat. My honest take is this: the second-generation Toyota Sequoia is one of the most underrated full-size SUVs on the American used market. It is Toyota's forgotten work elephant, overshadowed by the 4Runner's adventure image and the Land Cruiser's collector status. But when you look at reliability, cost per mile, usefulness, and long-distance durability with a clear head, very little in this price range can touch it. If I had to buy one SUV today, drive it every day, keep it for a decade, and spend as little as possible on major repairs, I would be looking for a 2013 Sequoia without much hesitation. And there they are, 3 SUVs the market nearly forgot, but many mechanics did not. The Lexus GX470 hides Land Cruiser hardware behind a luxury badge that used buyers often misunderstand. The Chevrolet Tahoe with the 5.3-liter Vortec V8 has real-world mileage stories that can stretch far beyond 500,000 miles. And the Toyota Sequoia may be one of the best values in the entire used SUV market, even though almost nobody talks about it. Now you know 3 vehicles that can be found for under about $20,000 and may outlast many SUVs that cost several times more. So the next time a dealer tries to make a 3-year-old lease return with a tiny turbo engine and hidden repair risk sound like the smart choice, you will look at that offer very differently. And if you want to know which model years from the big brands are better left alone, and which versions are actually worth your money, watch the video I linked here. That is where I break down the one bad generation that can turn an otherwise great SUV into an expensive mistake. If this honest breakdown helped you, hit the like button and subscribe for more straight answers without sales talk. Drive carefully, take care of your vehicle, and your vehicle will take care of you. I will see you in the next video.